everyone, welcome to the table. I'm your host, Wolf, and today we are going to be talking about Murders at Karlov Manor just a little bit, but the main thing that we're going to be talking about is a commander deck that I have built for this set. So, this set, a couple of people in my last video said, yeah, this set is also fun outside of pre-release, and I do think that is true, but my problem with this set is in pre-release, it's fun. Pretty much every set in pre-release is fun. I mean, that's just kind of a given, because pre-release is just such a fun format and environment to play in. But outside of pre-release, in like a competitive setting or standard or whatever, pretty much any format outside of Commander, the mechanics are just too slow and too clunky. But in Commander, especially with the new legendary creatures that are fairly powerful, you can build some really, really fun decks. And that is where I think this set does shine, and where the people in my last video did say this set is fun, I agree with, because the set is fun in Commander. The mechanics in the set are fun to play, but you can't really play them outside of formats like Commander, which is the main format of the game, so makes sense. Now, let's talk about the Commander that I want to build for this set, and the Commander that I think is probably the best one in the set and the most fun one in the set. It also just so happens to not really care about most of the stuff in this set, but I still wanted to talk about this set a little bit outside of just this Commander deck. So what's the Commander that I'm talking about? Well, Voja. Jaws of the Conclave, a legendary wolf. 2 and Naya, or red, green, white, for a 5/5 with Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 3. So whenever it is going to get killed or targeted by something, well, its controller has to pay an additional 3, or else they're not going to be real happy. So automatically the stats on this card are really good, and whenever it attacks, it sucks that it has to attack and get put into danger, except when it attacks, it puts X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. Automatically, that's a pretty good card. And here's the kicker. You get to then draw a card for each wolf you control, including this one. So automatically, you get to draw at least one card off of this card when it attacks, and most likely, you're going to buff your whole board. So this card, you want to play a fair amount of wolves and a fair amount of elves. But honestly, I don't think you need like a 50-50 split. Elves, the elf side of the deck, and elves, there are more elves in the game, pump your whole squad. Whereas with wolves, they draw an amount of cards equal to the number of wolves that you have. This is already one card that you're drawing off of Voja, and most of the time, unless you have a reliquary tower, you're going to have to discard a lot of the cards, which sometimes can be a good thing because you can fix your hand really well, but it means that you don't have to run as many bad wolves in your deck, and you can run more good elves to make your squad bigger instead of focusing more on the card draw. So pretty much every single wolf in this deck is like Ascendant Packleader, got really good stats, and it's just a really good card. Or, to take advantage of the +1/+1 counters wolves are getting from their elf counterparts, Trample. They either have Trample or good stats. So Hungry Ridgewolf here, 2 mana, 2/2, as long as you control another wolf, or werewolf, so as long as you have your commander out, it gets +1/+0 and Trample. So you attack with it, Voja, you get to draw 2 cards, and they get buffed for the amount of elves you have, and this automatically comes through for some Trample, in addition to Voja's Trample, which, oh by the way, it has Trample, so if you get big enough, it can just start one-shotting people, and getting bigger, and drawing new cards. So, very fun deck. So the wolf side of the deck basically just plays the best werewolves you can, and then all the wolves that have Trample, pretty much. And a couple of wolves here and there that can actually make other wolves, which is really fun. Like this little sneaky card from Crimson Vow Commander, pretty good. Beginning of your upkeep, you get to make a lot of wolves, and then draw a bunch of more cards, and then fix your hand, basically whenever you want. Or just give all your stuff Trample. So that kind of stuff. And the other half of this deck, or the other big theme of the deck, is elves. So what are elves good at? Well, they are good at making mana, like Incubation Druid. if it has a couple of +1/+1 counters on it, which is so hard to do in this deck, it gets to tap for a ton of mana, which makes it way easier to replay your commander. So we only run, in this deck, 35 lands, but with all the ramp we get from the elves, and just the really good green ramp cards in this deck, it's very easy to recast our commander if it dies. Plus, if you have something like Cavern of Souls, you can just say no, no, no to those counter players and make it much harder to deal with it. They have to pay the Ward 3 in order to deal with it, which is a very nice effect. And so the elf side of the deck, making mana, and the other half is doing elf making. Making elves, making more elves, and making more elves to allow your board to get very big, very fast, and allow you to come in for a bunch of damage with your tramply werewolves and draw a bunch of cards and just make more elves. And the cycle just continues forever and ever. But another thing about this deck that I do really like is green, white, and red. 3 colors. That means you get 3 colors access to shapeshifters, which, if you didn't know, count as all creature types. So they count as elves and as wolves. So you get to draw cards and get counters out of them. So we're basically running all the good shapeshifters in the deck as well, like Mirror Entity, which basically can make your whole squad really big in the late game if you have no other mana. It's basically a mana sink in the late game that allows your squad to get really big, really fast, and they all gain every creature type, so you get to draw even more cards, allowing you to do more with your mana, and then getting even more counters, which is really good. And then there's cards like Realm Walker as well, which basically allow you to get cards off the top of your deck, allow you to play certain spells off the top of your deck. Taurean Mauler is another really good one, allowing you to get really big as well. Basically, all the shapeshifters in this deck are really good, outside of a couple that are just okay, but I still think should be run in the deck. But getting past all the ramp of the elves, all the good statted or tramply wolves, we got ramp, like Soul Rain, Arcane Signet. We got protection, like Swiftfoot Boots. More ways to get advantage out of our stuff. Some removal, and then more card draw, pretty much. More protection, and more ramp. The main theme of the deck is just ramp, ramp, ramp. Get into your commander, play all the good creatures possible, as many good creatures as you possibly can, and just draw a bunch of cards with your wolves, and get a bunch of counters on stuff with your elves, and then just continue the cycle forever and ever, and make sure that you always have enough mana to, if your commander dies, be able to recast it. So, I hope that you all enjoyed this deck. This is a very quick deck tech, but it's a very good deck. It's got a lot of really good cards in it. There are cards that you can take out. Esper Sentinel is just an insane card. Some other stuff, like Greater Good is just a really good card in the deck and can allow you to just basically refill your hand if you don't have your commander out. Smothering Tithe allows you just to do some more crazy stuff. Sylvan Library allows you to do more stuff with your hand. And then, yeah, if you don't want those kinds of expensive cards in the deck, there's a lot of budget replacements, like put in a couple of more board wipes, or just more good ramp, or more good card draw. Now, they're not going to be as good as those, but hey, it's fine. But anyways, with all that aside, hope that you enjoyed, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's completely free, you won't regret it. And hope that you're having fun with the legendary creatures and commander side of this set. And with all that aside, see you next time, everybody.